This week on RSBANDB Update, sailing launches as old school's first new skill. We give it the full new skill treatment, covering core training methods, XP changes, combat, and exploration. Has sailing redefined utility skills? This is RSBANDB Update, episode 1066, recorded Saturday, December 6th, 2025. Wiggle your boat. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of RSBANDB Update. A couple of days, little bit later than anticipated, but we have good reason for that. We brought back the old school panel to do a special episode on sailing because it's not too often we get to do a new skill week. Ain't that right, Sirion?
Yep. First time ever for old school, actually.
Yeah, and that's why we wanted to do it for the
lack of
show.
trying.
Right?
Not for the lack of trying,
right?
But yeah.
Also joining us is Dave Arcane, who's been on for previous old school episodes, composed the music for the top of the show. Welcome back, Dave.
Thank you for having me. Good to be back.
And, of course, Earth, who has been the serial sailing dabbler over the past couple weeks since it's been around. I was looking for other people to come on the show, and I thought, you'd be a perfect bet for this one. Welcome back to the show.
Because I have no idea what I'm doing.
But you've been having fun with it, and that's what counts.
I have been having fun.
And you
good.
haven't been try-harding it like some people have been.
Wow, that felt veiled.
Well, no, it's not,
pointed.
because you've been being Christopher Columbus while I've been running circles.
Let's pick someone else.
Oh, is Columbus not a good person these days?
He wasn't a good person then either.
Okay. Well, in any case.
Like 500 years old news there, Chief.
Well, in any case, then, before we get too far down the road, if you do want to follow along, full show notes can be found over at update.show. We do have the community Discord over at update.show/Discord, and the friends chat can be found in game at BitsBytes. But I would be remiss if we didn't mention our experienced tier Patreon members who make our RSBANDB Update go. This week, that is Amos Reed, Bladecom, Dominic R., Jade Gizmo, Jason S., Jesse W., Julia W., Kesky, Lemon Lodge, Luminos, Ricky A., Psy Oasis, Snail Mage, The Naked Captain, and Tim. You'll be hearing more about our Patreon offerings a little bit later in the podcast. But, I think it's just time that we dive into this skill. And old school RuneScape's 24th new skill, the first new skill. Sailing first started out as a meme in something like 2008 or 2007, where it appeared as an April Fool's entry on the high score table. That spurred many great discussions over the years, including a monthly bit that we did on the matter for April Fools to ask what would sailing be like if it would be added, which we need to go back to that and have a look and see how we did on that.
How long ago was that?
I think we probably did that one around 2019-ish, if I had to guess. Maybe. I'll go back and get the actual day at some point in the future. But following that came the initial discussions for sailing on old school, and then what felt like an eternity of back and forth, because we were doing the old school show at the time, Sirion, on this, the eternity of back and forths between whether or not to do sailing, shamanism, or taming. Sailing won, albeit narrowly, and the rest is history on that, isn't it?
Yeah, a little bit. The community has not forgotten how close it was either. That's the topic that has come up every single alpha and beta and feedback post and whatever. So, yeah.
My biggest concern throughout the entire thing was that it would still feel like a meme. And as soon as I was able to shake that meme feeling, I was good with the skill. And that was my main hurdle to entry, I think, for me.
Yeah, I think my even when we went, so we covered the alpha and the beta, and we actually got to play it at Winfest before most people as well, actually. And I think for me, my main conclusion every single time has been that, the team has knocked it out of the park. But I do think that as a premise, as a skill, it still feels like very risky and very out there in terms of what it is. And I felt the other options we had would have been more, closer to the DNA that
Grounded.
is actually, more grounded. Very funny.
Boo.
So I think, but like I have sort of gotten around to seeing sailing for what it is as a support skill, and maybe a blueprint for what a support skill should really look like, whether that is in old school or even RuneScape 3.
Yeah, I agree. Dave, what's your initial thoughts on that early history?
Yeah, so I did vote for sailing kind of from day one. I thought there was the most potential there, not even just as a skill, but I think as kind of a foundation. Whether or not they knocked it out of the park with the skill at the time was up for debate, but I thought it would give a lot of a foundation to expand the game. Double, tripling the map size. They could build a lot on that, and there would be a lot more to experience rather than, going around and drawing shaman circles and being able to, collect mushrooms and stuff like that. Again, nothing against shamanism whatsoever, but I thought it had the most unique kind of addition to the game. So kind of all the way throughout the final poll up until release, I was always cautiously optimistic. I always thought it would do good. I know everybody was just, kind of slamming it from day one and just had, nothing good to say. I wasn't shilling it. I wasn't like, oh my God, this is going to be the best ever. I was cautiously optimistic, and they really did knock it out of the park for what it was on day one, with plenty of potential to move forward. So I'm very satisfied.
Yeah, and
I think that makes for an interesting point as well, right? And this, I think, was a point of contention for the longest time, is that a lot of the premise of sailing came with this prospect of a map expansion, right? Like all of the new content that it would unlock, like all of the new islands and stuff. And to me, that always made it very hard to separate the two, right? Like, are people really voting for the concept of sailing as a skill?
Yeah.
Or is it that they really just want more content?
Right.
And if they really just want more content, do we need to build a whole complex thing around it that requires basically rewriting big parts of the engine to support ships, just to get people more content? I think they managed to make sailing interesting by itself without leaning too heavily on the content, but for the longest time that was one of the big doubts with it, and I think it is even today a valid criticism, and maybe something that is hard to split these two parts.
Yeah, and it comes to, what can you do on land versus what can you do on the sea, and we'll get into that when we get to some of the specific training methods that are there for that. But you, Earth, what was your first take on this? Because you weren't as in the weeds on this as we were.
I knew nothing about it, and I knew it existed, but I've just sort of, I've literally been sailing all around the world, looking at all the new stuff they've added and doing all of the charting stuff. And I did the Barracuda trials for the first time, 5 minutes before the show started, and I'm level 47. So, I'm just vibing and having fun and discovering it as it comes along. So,
and that's so interesting. You're able to get to 47 on that from just charting, because that, isn't necessarily the fastest training method out there for it.
Definitely not.
And what we actually wound up starting with for the skill itself, and in the quest that gets everybody rolling, is Courier Tasks, and that's what is in the tutorial.
I did those for a while.
Yeah, because that's what the tutorial does, in addition to movement. How did we find the tutorial? Because, we always hold up the archaeology tutorial as the gold standard of skill onboarding. How did we feel about the tutorial?
I think the tutorial, I think, was good enough. Could there be improvements? Absolutely. But I think it was good enough to kind of get your bearings with controlling your ship, how courier tasks work. With that, they obviously don't do too much with combat, which I think. I mean, early level that could be dangerous. Maybe on a different quest, they could focus a little bit more on combat because just the ship control interface is a little clunky. Figuring out how the targeting and stuff works, I think they could do a little bit better job with that. But other than that, the quest gets you in. It kind of gives you the quick and dirty. It lets you level up, and then, I know we're used to kind of just figuring stuff out rather than hand holding, up until level 70. But it's pretty intuitive on what you can do and how they introduce things with the subsequent couple quests, and I think that's pretty good. So.
All right.
I think maybe like just to take a step back for people who aren't playing old school and have actually no idea what sailing looks like. I mean, sailing, you start out with like a raft basically, and literally dotted around the entire world map are ports, where you start in Port Sarim and you unlock Port Sarim and the Pandemonium, which is a new island, which is basically like the low-level sailing hub. First, you get on a boat and then basically you move around, and the way it works is you click somewhere, but it's not like on land you just click somewhere and your character sort of automatically paths to it, but you click in a direction and your boat sort of turns in that direction and just keeps sailing in the same direction until you click again. So the movement is very different and unique, which immediately makes it very interesting, of course, because especially looking at PVM and certain ability, other activities like Hello It's a Poker, we have seen a lot of exploration of how movement, like character movement, works, and you need to have like quite a high level of skill in how that works, and thinking about things like true tiles and understanding how run works and walk and like all of these different things is like actually there's a lot of nuance that I think RS3 is only just starting to explore with things like the traps and heists. Sailing brings a whole new mechanism for moving around, so it's a whole new world out there.
Hey, Aladdin.
Didn't they do some crazy thing with the half tiles or something for the movement?
Quarter tiles.
Quarter tiles.
Yeah. Ships actually are well, I think it's like 4 tiles per, so it's like half. Yeah, it depends on how you measure, but it's like, yeah. They basically split the world grid in 2 horizontal and 2 vertical extra, so you get 4 tiles per normal tile.
Interesting.
So basically that allows for more granular movement then.
Yeah, you can move in 8 directions basically instead of 4, which I think feels good. I think if they added more, it would be, it wouldn't feel like the same theme, and
it wouldn't feel RuneScape-y in that case.
It wouldn't be janky enough.
Yeah, it'd be too smooth.
And I think they did actually test with like literal point and click at the very beginning, and it just didn't feel right. And having spent a whole bunch of time at trials, like the current mechanics they almost feel clunky on purpose, right? Like there's limitations to the movement.
But when has movement in RS, any version of RS, not felt clunky?
Yeah, but like it feels clunky mostly in a good way. Like there are restrictions, and restrictions create interesting content.
Yeah. I'll agree with that. And I think one of the beautiful things about the tutorial is that it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to be 100% on board and grasp all these little movement things that we just talked about after you complete the Pandemonium quest.
Yes.
So,
no, the super interesting thing about this skill is that if you think about most skills, whether it's RS3 or old school, really you blast through like the first 70 levels, and then like 95% of the time you spend in like the last 20 levels of the skill.
Right. Like runecrafting, right, Dave?
That's right. Still there.
But what they did with sailing is they tried flattening the curve. So what you see is that
Oh,
actually 1 to 30 um is actually really slow. And then the moment you unlock like the first Barracuda trial at level 30, we will talk about it in a second, the XP goes up very quickly and the skill becomes a lot faster. And then the same at level 55 when you unlock Ghibli Drive, and then again at level 72. But even beyond that, like every new sort of few levels, the XP ramps up fairly quickly, which means that the time between levels doesn't feel as extremely different as other skills, which I actually really appreciate.
Yeah.
Because it felt like it was worthwhile getting some of the upgrades on my ship even early on, because I knew I wouldn't outgrow them within like 5 minutes afterwards.
Oh yeah, and they've been, incredibly economical too, unless you're going for them on day one to get. And ship upgrades and whatnot are very important because they control many facets of your boat. We'll get there in a bit. But if you don't do that, you can effectively be cruising around in that first draft you get after Pandemonium, and you question how long that's good for. And I guess since you've been doing a lot of the charting there, Earth, are you still on the raft, or did you upgrade to a sloop?
Using is it a sloop or a skiff?
No, the sloop is the biggest one.
Okay, right.
The skiff.
Yeah, I'm using that one. I've got the best hull and sails or whatever that I can, and I mean, I've just been roaming around.
Yeah. All right.
Got 2 full oceans done, I think.
Nice. Do you want to talk about courier tasks now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is
my favorite part.
This is where you. Oh, that's your favorite part.
It is my favorite part.
That's where you get to live out your dream of being a FedEx or UPS delivery
That's
person.
right. Yeah, getting cargo any way I can. Absolutely.
I have to be honest with you guys. This part bored me to tears initially when I played it, and I think that it will come out to shine in the later rungs of the skill, which Ziron will talk about in a bit. But the idea behind this is you pick your port, and then there's a board at the beginning of each port, and then you effectively choose a courier task there. You pick up your cargo, take it to the other one, and then drop it off, and then you can repeat it from the other end as well if you so desire. And you mainly get sailing XP from it. You get a bit of GP. You don't get any of the cargo, unfortunately, given what some of the stuff is that you're carrying. But I feel like sailing wouldn't be a thing without a courier delivery kind of skill loop in here, would it?
Yeah. No, I really like it. That's kind of the main thing you're doing between 1 and 30, so it gets really old really quick. It kind of just gets ran into the ground, which I totally understand. I don't want to get ahead of myself too much, but I like how they kind of fit it in to break up the monotony of just running Barracuda trials, at least for me, and I don't know if that was intended or not.
Salvaging.
Or just salvaging, yeah. So, I mean, basically, I didn't mind it up until 30, but then obviously once I hit 30, I was hitting trials pretty hard. And then when I got to Jubbly Jive, I did that, and that was a huge difference. And I got pretty burnt out with that pretty quick. So I started doing a specific type of courier task, which we'll talk about here shortly, which is ABA. And that was really good from like a 4-level window. It's really weird. Like between 62 and 66. Once you hit 66, the boards just completely drop off and you're best to go back to trials. But once you hit like 80 plus, it becomes almost not perfectly in line, but it's very competitive rates with just running the last trial, which I think is great. Wow. Because if I want to go super try hard and sweaty, I can go to Gwyneth Glide and I can, get my 210, 250k XP an hour. But if I just kind of want to semi AFK, just literally sail across the entire map and not really have to do much in the, 5 minutes between doing that, it really kind of closes that gap. And
so describe an ABA then.
So basically what it is when you get to like 62, you unlock kind of like the last ports, and it's sort of like around Lunar, it's around Miscellanea and Relica, or etc. And what you're going to do is you're going to pick up a courier tasks that have you bring something back because the game thinks you're going to, for example, you have Relica and you have Alderaan. So you'll go to Relica and you'll pick something up that is from Alderaan to Relica because the game expects you to sail from Relica to Alderaan to pick it up and then bring it back. But what you do is you pick that task up, you teleport to Alderaan, you teleport your boat to Alderaan, so you're effectively only carrying one leg of that, but you're getting the experience for two. So that's the gist of what that is. So,
and what you've also
and then the cool thing is you can combine this, right? Like, so you just set up like a route and like you pick up things for like routes along the way, like you stop at Priff and Port Terrace and Deep Fin Point. Like you're just a little bit clever along the way. And I was watching a video about it earlier, and the thing I really like about ABA tasks is it's not something you just mindlessly do. You actually have to go and sit at the board and look at it and like, okay, hey, actually all of my routes take me more like along the western, like along the Zaya coast. So I should not pick up a task to Priff Dinners. Or like, oh, I already have a Port Terrace task. It's like a small detour to Priff Dinners. And sort of start thinking about strategically.
It's almost
which
like a
task to
farming
take.
run.
It kind of is, and it's ever dynamic because your tasks will basically reset every 8 tasks you do. So it kind of keeps it fresh, and there are different things, again, like, oh, there's no Alderaan to Aceteria, so now I'm going to kind of go on my Deep Fin route. Let me check that because it might have changed, and depending if you get anything at Deep Fin, you're like, all right, I want to stick, like he was saying, I want to stick up the coast of like Priff or Tyrus rather than going over to Roberts or Civitas. So it's really cool, and it was funny because day one or day two, I don't remember where I saw it, but it's like, wow, Jagex really kind of set the traveling merchant problem on the old school player base, and we're actually going to solve it.
That too.
Yeah.
Like,
No, but
the
the cool thing about it being dynamic is, right, like, sure, you can read like a guide and I'm sure there will be like a long list of things like take this mission and don't take this task, right? But I think if you need to cross-check with all of these tasks all of the time, you're going to slow yourself down. This is a method that really gets better. Like your XP per hour goes up by acquiring game knowledge and understanding what port is where and what routes are good. And that, to me, is a unicum that doesn't really exist elsewhere in the world. And I love that about them. I haven't really done them myself. I might try them at some point. I've been going really hard at the trials, but
you can always kind of refine that as well, because I was doing it a lot to where I would have my boat at Lunar and then I'd sail to Etceteria and then I'd sail to Relica. But you don't have to do that. If you have teleports there, if you have a spirit tree on Etceteria, if you have the diary boots for Relica and you have a teleport to Lunar, you can just go to those ports. And if you have the medallion, you can just teleport to Deep Fin. So I realized that, but then I also was like, okay, so if I have a bunch, obviously a lot of your destinations are going to be up in the northern part of the map. Your main 3 are going to be Lunar, Etceteria, and Relica. So you're always coming from Alderaan almost every time, or Deep Fin. But a fun little trick is when you're sailing up through Priff, you can use the portals for Gwyneth Clyde. You can hop into Black, and it will transport you like a third of the way up, and you can escape out of the Black portal going north, and you just shave down like at least 2 minutes of runtime. So it's just you're ever kind of, depending on where you're going, if you have something at Port Roberts or Piscarilius, obviously that's going to be out of your way. You'll probably eat the cost on that. It's fine, but it's just super cool stuff you can optimize along the way.
And you're talking about teleporting yourself, not the boat, right?
Correct. So when you go through we're talking about like in Gwyneth Clyde, you go through the portal.
No. I mean, when you were talking about between the different ports, because that's another mechanic, is that you can move your boats between ports as well for a
right.
For
when you're picking up tasks in like the main 3 kind of destination ports, you teleport yourself.
Right.
Your boat does not have to be.
I just wanted to
and then
clarify that.
Yeah, you pick up the tasks in the north, basically. Then you go to Alderaan, then you teleport your boat there, and then you start picking up cargo. But the moment there's cargo in your boat, you shouldn't be teleporting your ship because your cargo hold gets empty.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. That was
So you always run your ship from south to north, basically, and then when you're in the north, you teleport around there, picking up tasks, and then teleport your ship back to the south and start over again.
Yep.
And here, Jagex to me did the impossible, right? Is how do you skillify, right? Like how do you turn movement, the act of traveling, into a skill, which is something that agility never managed to solve, right? If you think about it.
Yeah.
And here they did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Another thing that's as part of the port tasks, we've been talking about Courier a lot, but this falls under the port task umbrella, is the wanted bounty tasks, which involves ship combat.
We don't talk about those. They don't exist.
Basically, ship combat is not in a state that anybody's really happy with at this point. It exists.
I've done a few. Yeah, I say I can speak on it a little bit. And there's a way to optimize that as well, because you do the ABA task for Courier, but kind of the meta, so to speak, at whatever state it's in right now, with the bounty tasks is certain bounty tasks will be available at between like 2 and 5 specific ports. So like Port Khazard will always have the chance to have a great white shark bounty. With the bounty tasks, there are 2 different types for each monster. One will be like a 1 in 10 rate for the drop. The other one will be a 1 in 2 rate. So the meta is to get 2 different tasks for the same monster for a different drop. So if you're going to do great whites, you want to get a great white liver, which is a 1 in 10 or 1 in 2, and then you want one for a great white jaw, which is either a 1 in 10 or a 1 in 2. So you're killing the same amount of monsters, so you're basically getting double XP. So that's kind of how you stack it up with that. But it's pretty out of the way. It's not as kind of it's not comparable XP wise with the Courier tasks, and the boat combat is still a little janky. But that's kind of where we're at with that. So
yeah,
I feel a little bit
built a cannon yet.
Oh, I haven't either. I have no plans on touching ship combat until it receives an update.
I did ship combat during the beta. And this was the beta where, so we, for people who don't know the history, we had an alpha and a beta basically for sailing that everybody could play. A lot of people tried the alpha, a lot of people loved it. That's where we sort of got the movement. Then we got the beta, which introduced combat and crew. And a lot of people were like, I'm not going to try it because the alpha felt so good. And I trust Jagex and I want to go into it blindly. So the amount of feedback they got out of the beta was actually very little. And my immediate reaction to like the beta was like, these 2 things, crew and combat, are both putting me off the skill immensely, and I'm sort of feel vindicated that combat is indeed receiving the reception that I gave it when it came in the beta.
But at least they said they're aware of that this week.
Yeah, I think they really should not have launched with it at all.
No. And I think that's all I want to say on combat at this point, because I mean, unless we're missing something drastic, I personally don't have any plans on interacting with it right now. So
the only reason I've been doing it is just for drops, because they're so early. So the past week, I mean, I'm 87 right now. I kind of stopped at 87 because I have no need to rush to 99. I don't want the 99 right now. And it's like, what else can I do? I was killing great white sharks for the past basically week to get a hook. Finally got one last night, almost exactly on rate. Sold it for 55 mil. It's what I wanted. Ooh. I'm using it to fund my max house now. And now I'm camped at Vampire Kraken. So once I get a bottled storm from there and sell that, we'll see where I'm at. But that's kind of where I'm at with sailing in terms of combat. I'm dealing with it, but it's because the drops are so high. So, but if they weren't worth much or they are untradeable, I would definitely not be doing combat. So.
I'm just waiting for the albatross feathers to come down in price so I can build my guild catcher because the drops from like the sailing stuff has been crazy over the last few weeks.
Yeah.
All right.
And I'm in the same boat. As well, in like I'm now sailing level 81, and I've been doing little bits of it, but I'm also at this point like I've unlocked everything that I wanted to unlock from it, and I kind of want to, I'm pretty sure that in 2026 they're going to add like another barracuda trial, like a high level one, and more content. And it would be a waste to be 99 sailing already and not get to enjoy that a little bit more organically. So my activity has been plank make, just lots of plank making because it's very profitable, and I can use the magic XP. So
absolutely,
yeah. All right. Anything else on Courier Tasks before we shove off as the sailing talk goes?
No,
All right.
that covers it.
Well, I'm going to thank some Patreon supporters right now because it is that time of the show. So this week in particular, I'd like to thank Alaska, Alvaro L, Amos Reed, Arvids L, Bladecom, Brandon F, Jill Burra, Dominic R, Duramax, Golden XP, Gila Fleur, Imperialis, Jade Gizmo, Jason S, Jesse W, Julia W, Keski, Lemon Lodge, Luminos, Matt Man, Mighty Myth, Michelle M, Mike Wings, Mongrath, Parnassius, Ricky A, Robbie D, Rob Sov, Samuel FL, Scott DS, Shirt Pants, Sioaces, Smavin, Stale Mage, Tabby, The Naked Captain, The Dabbing Goat, Tim, Ukulele Steve, Woody, Zant, and Zazakon. Big, huge thank you, everybody. And if you're wondering what this is about, head on over to patreon.com/RSBANB. There, we do have 3 tiers if you want to support the show monetarily. Starting off, we have for $1 a month, you get a thank you in our show notes and access to the full monthly bit catalog, which includes 88 plus now monthly bits or bonus episodes. We're going to be doing a very controversial one this coming week. We're going to be doing one on the World Guardian era quest tier list. Yes, that one's going to be a little bit controversial. So if you want to get that as soon as it's released, sign up at patreon.com/RSBNB. We also do have our $3 community tier where you get a VIP rank in Discord channel, special chat channel, and a monthly shout out on the show, plus high quality stereo versions of the show. You'll also take part in, from time to time, workshopping monthly bit ideas. You'll have the ability to submit Patreon discussion topics for quiet weeks and take part in our community nights when we hear them. And plus hear the RSBNB update producers behind the scenes, audio, vlog type things that get posted to Patreon. And for $5 a month, you get a weekly shout out on the podcast and gain access to our expanded clip archive and outtakes that we use to make the clip show at the end of the year, which is just around the corner right now. And also from time to time, you'll be invited to send in short Patreon clips that could make the episode. Basically, those are little clips where Patreon members get to contribute and have their thoughts appear in the episode. Plus, with this, the RSBNB update Christmas card is in this tier, which has already gone out in the mailbox. So, patreon.com/RSBNB. Thanks so much, everybody, for allowing us to do this show. All right. So from there, we move on to salvaging, which is effectively the AFK traditional, can be AFK, but mainly the traditional skill training method that they added for this. And this is where some of the high tier loot can come in, definitely at the higher tiers, though probably not as plentiful, I'm thinking, as the combat between the critters that are unlocked and the critters at sea, if I remember some of the drop tables correctly.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff, the 2 kind of main drops for combat, one of them is like 1 in 500, the other one's like 1 in 1,000, and that's not frost dragons, that's like ship combat. I think really the only main big one is the dragon cannon barrel that comes from the last tier of salvage, and I think that's sitting right around 1 in 20k, which I think is a little crazy, but hey, it is what it is. So
yeah, so effectively it's the AFK trading method. You roll up to a salvaging spot, deploy your hooks, have the salvage appear in your inventory, and then you can, early on, you have to go back to port to clean the salvage at a salvaging station. But later on, you can actually build a salvaging station on your boat and just do it there. And then whatever you get from that, you can either decide to high elk or throw it in a gem bag or a seed box or something to that effect. With that, what's everybody's take on salvaging, or drop it?
I think it's good. I think it's the closest thing old school has right now to archaeology. So for all the archaeology lovers, including myself, I mean, you're pulling up stuff and then you're basically refining it and you're getting stuff from that. Again, that's not a complaint. I love archaeology. It's probably in my top 3 for RS3. But yeah, that's pretty much what it is. I think it's good. I think there's different ways to do it, and I like the fact that there are the options. You can have your crew man both hooks, and then you clean it on your boat. You can man one of the hooks. You can really get super lean forward, and you can 1.5 ticket. So there's lots of options. I think it's a cool mechanic. So
And this was
1.5 is my favorite way of AFKing.
This was a major point in contention this week. Do we want to touch on this now, or do we want to save that for later?
I would say it probably fits in now because that was the biggest point of contention. The other XP rates are just like but the one with salvaging is what had everybody with their torches and pitchforks. So,
Sirion, how has salvaging been for you in terms of that? Have you felt the XP rates to be on par? Or do you like this as a method?
I've really not done it that much. I did a little bit of AFK salvaging the moment because like I did a bit of salvaging early on. I think like around level 40 or something like that. I did a little bit with like my skiff at the barracuda once. I felt it was okay, but it's not the most engaging content.
No.
Yeah. And then I did a bunch of it after I got my fully upgraded sloop. So I was around level 65, and I found it incredibly slow. But that was because I used crew to man the hooks essentially, and I only did the salvaging,
which got nerfed this week.
Which got nerfed even further this week. But I already felt it was not the most. To me, it didn't even feel like it was that fast compared to the other methods. But people, especially at higher levels, were getting egregious like XP rates and I think that the biggest point of contention isn't necessarily the XP rates. It's the fact that if you went with the method of basically you can have 2 salvaging hooks on your boat at most, and you can have these be manned by crew. So basically you would have them do that, and then you would use the salvaging station on the boat to just sort through the salvage, and the sorting XP was also pretty good. So all of this together sort of combined into a fact where you could essentially AFK for 30 minutes while your crew was manning the hooks, and then you would come in with like a full cargo hold, empty it out, sort through it all for like 5 minutes, and then go away for like another 25 minutes. And the idea behind it was we never wanted the game to have methods where you AFK for 30 minutes, which I think is a completely valid take.
With huge XP rates pushing north of 100k at those high levels is effectively the main concern there.
So and I think the biggest point of contention is Jax has basically been like, we don't want to like encourage this or reward this. So they massively changed the sorting XP to be like a fraction of what it was before to sort of solve this problem. But that also hit the other training methods where you also salvage yourself and then sort yourself. That got cut as well. So
and we had a time this week where the best salvaging method involved salvaging yourself and then dropping the salvage.
Yes, exactly. So they did backtrack some of the changes. So the sorting is now the same XP as before. They also increased the salvaging chance, but it's slightly slower than it was before. But they did change it so that if your crew salvages, you only get like a fraction of the XP. Like I think it's like half of the XP of what you got before. So, and now
I think that's a happy compromise.
It's also the other way around now. So you used to be salvaging at 4 ticks and your crew at 3 ticks. Now it is you salvage at 4 ticks, but your crew salvages at 5 ticks. So they're actually slower at it as well. So all in all, I think we got to a happy medium. But I think a lot of people were upset by the fact that, we had all of these sort of abuse early people that got 99 and now we're nerfing it. And at the same time, a lot of people complaining like, I have a job, I'm playing RuneScape doing work, and now you're salvaging the only method that I could use, which...
What was our quote on that? Play early, abuse often? Was that our quote?
Yeah, abuse early, abuse often.
Yeah, that was it. Were you on for that episode, Dave?
I don't know, but it's pretty much been the rhetoric for most skill releases or update releases, unfortunately. I mean, as long as it's not mega game breaking, but even day one, there was something where people were going up when they were, sub level 30, and there was a way to kind of skirt around some of the Krakens up near like Lunar Isle, and you could like pry open a crate for one of the bottles and drink it and get like 10k XP. And they like they hot fixed that like after 3 people did it. So that was the huge contention on like the second hour of release. And people are like, it's not really a bug. They just didn't think people would have enough balls to go up there with a bunch of people that could one shot your ship and get 10k XP. It's like nobody won the race because they, went somewhere they shouldn't have. They weren't like prevented from going. They just took the risk. So it was kind of funny. But yeah, everybody's kind of up in arms, or was up in arms about that. But
yeah. And I think when you look at salvaging on the whole, you always need, I think, and maybe this is a hot take, but I think I won't say need. It's always nice to have a lean back kind of training method, whatever the skill might be, whether it be something that you need to enable or the skill enables naturally, as we have here with the case of salvaging. Like I always like try and paint the picture. What is something that you could do easily on mobile with sailing, or something you could do on sailing that would require light accessibility concerns, and I always point to salvaging, I think, for that.
Yeah. Before even the first nerf with the salvaging happened, it was way overtuned. People were getting 180k XP an hour, sitting there AFKing completely. If you were try-harding ABA courier tasks, you were sitting right about between 120 and 150k an hour. Gwyneth Glide was sitting right at about 180k an hour. About a week later, they're sitting like 210. So the fact that you could basically 20 to 25 minute AFK and get the same rates as super lean forward, I thought was ridiculous. Did the nerf need to happen? Absolutely. Was the nerf overtuned into the ground? Absolutely. My personal opinion, if you're AFKing something like that, and I don't mean to, compare it to different skills, but I feel like even if it's over 100k just sitting there AFKing, I feel like that's a bit much. I mean, where it's at 120k, it's fine. It's a happy medium. People are happy. They're playing the game. That's fine. But I think realistically, right around 80 to 90k for doing that AFK, I think is fair in my opinion.
And I mean, you are entirely right to say that with your own right, because you worked your fingers a lot over the years, a lot,
right,
with rune crafting.
Yeah. So again, I think it's in a good place where it's at now. But being to where, why would you go train Gwyneth Glide if you could just sit there for 20 minutes and do something else? Like I didn't do too much with salvaging, but to me that felt insane. And I think people liked it because a lot of the people training it, unfortunately, were sailing haters and like, I just want to get this done with. And then they're like mad because they can't do it. It's like, I don't know. I feel unfortunately like the past,
this game.
With
there's
sailing,
there's
and
that meme with you hate it,
sailing,
so you do it in the most abuse friendly way.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, even with like necromancy, unfortunately with invention, I mean, you release a skill and people are done with it in 4 days. That just something seems wrong with that. I mean, I get it. Everybody wants to enjoy it and just get it over with and get your max cape back. But at the same time, you can't have a skill that takes 2 months to max because nobody's going to do it. So it's a happy medium. It's fine where it's at. Even in old school. Yeah. So
all right.
I think it's good. So we're at a good spot.
All right. That was quite the discussion on salvaging there, and I figured it was a good time to bring that up. With that, we'll make a note that we don't need to go as deep later on, but we mentioned numerous times that you can have your crew on the hooks with this. You get your first crew member, I think, at around level 40, I think.
Yeah.
Then the number 2 comes at level 55, the third one at 70, and the fourth at 85. And they all have different stats around them. Helmsmanship, privateering, and deckhandedness. Deckhandedness is what you're going to be going for if you're looking to have your crew members manage the hooks. In that regard, privateering is more geared towards cannoning, while helmsmanship is obvious in that you can assign a crew member to actually man the helm. But I think that's the fun part. I don't know if I would ever do that. How do we feel about the entire crew layout in terms of everything that's on the table here with the skill?
I think it's
makes
good.
sense.
Yeah, just to clarify, you were saying you unlock a crew member at 40, 55, and that whatnot. That's a crew slot.
Slots.
To have concurrent crew, I think there are like 10 or 12 different crew members that you also have level requirements to basically recruit. So while you can have like 3 different crew members but only have one on your boat, you can open the crew interface and you can select which crewmate you want to be on your boat at that point. But I think it's good. I feel like it's very balanced because depending on what you're doing, you actually need to kind of think about who you want to bring. It's not just like, oh, this person's the best, that person's the best. Always just have these 2 people. If you're doing combat, there's Olga and there's Jittery Jim. Like those are the 2 people you want for canon. But when you're doing courier tasks, that's probably not somebody you want. And if you're doing salvaging, you want Cabin Boy Jenkins because he's going to be kind of the best with all the hooks. So I think it's very balanced in that fact.
How do you feel, Sirion, about crew?
And for the people wondering, where have I heard that name before, Cabin Boy Jenkins? It's the cabin boy that dies during Dragon Slayer 1.
Yes, it's a ghost.
Yep.
It is indeed a ghost.
How do you feel about crew, given what you said about crew and combat in the beta?
I'm still not a massive fan of it. Like you said, why would I have like a person man the helm? That's the fun part of it. Why? Like that's the main thing to me. Like we're cutting out parts of the main game loop. This strategy that sort of evolved organically around having multiple salvaging hooks and having crew help you, while I think it is an interesting emergent sort of gameplay mechanic, at the same time, it is also the thing that's bringing problems, right? Like I don't think it shows that the sailing wasn't intended to be played that way. It was always intended for you actively participating. And I think salvaging rates could have been balanced around one salvaging hook that you just man on the boat and
do it yourself.
Feels exactly like the only place where I find crew incredibly helpful, and I'm thankful for it, is when doing courier tasks, because they can carry crates for you, and often a lot more than you can, which takes a lot of the tedium out of that part of the skill where you need to run the crates from like the cargo table to your ship and back and forth. But other than that, I feel that crew was added to the game not to solve a problem or a need that the skill has, but because it was promised.
It had to be there.
It had to be there because the idea of the devs that worked on this is that sailing does not just represent you sailing a boat; it is also you leading the crew on a boat. They saw that as an integral part of the skill, and they added that. But I don't know. Like I can see situations with combat, right, where you want to be able to move the ship at the same time as firing, that it almost becomes a necessity.
Well, I could come on your boat and manage
like,
the cannons.
What was what's your thought on combat there was? Because that seems like the necessary part of it.
Yeah, that requires crew to be a thing, but
what about just bringing like 3 of your friends on the boat to fire the cannons and whatnot?
And you can't do it.
Only if they're as sweaty as the driver is. Otherwise, gonna get yelled at.
I feel like we're not getting as much of the group content as they were hoping, just because everybody's trying to rush 99. I say give it like a couple months, or if they decide to release raids 4 and it's a sailing thing, you're not going to see any of like the social aspect other than talking while you're salvaging. And at what point does it become Winter Toad like 2.0? So there's not much going on, but I think everybody's just kind of in a rush to get the skill done themselves, because the only things I've heard of is friends or alt accounts basically ferrying people around, because you can ferry people around and get the charting XP. So that's kind of a way to like boost past level 30 if you're able to do that. So as of right now, that seems to be the meta.
I think it was the second or third day Clan Quest had a charting party where they took a boat, and I don't remember how many people were on that, but did a lot of charting in the Discord. So
I think they're going to have to do a little bit of work with the ship interface to clean up combat and to get people, I guess, excited or give them a reason to do ship combat and like bring your friends. Because that was a huge pitch for sailing. Is like get all your friends on a boat and go and kill stuff. It's like, oh, that sounds cool, but it's like I don't even really like doing it with the 2 crew members I have because you're having to like, prayer flick on the targeting with the cannons and, wiggle your boat to do everything. It's like, oh my God, it's wild. But
right, like I think the meta is that you sort of wiggle your boat continuously, right? So that the cannons ultimately
if a monster is not like directly on the tile in front of your boat, you have to wiggle it to be able to get both cannons to fire at it.
Like,
so it's a little
and see,
wonky.
that was another thing, especially with the crew exacerbating it, but also with the combat side of it. Like, what are the arcs of the cannons, and what are the limitations of the crew members? Like, that's not inherently clear.
No, it's not, and I think that can be tied back to if and when they do fix it, having a quest or just incorporating that into a quest to let people know, like, these are the cones that they will fire. And I think that's a big suggestion to fix combat, is to either have like an overlay to show where it goes or to adjust it to where there's a little bit of overlap, because while we're being realistic, we don't need cannonballs curving 270 degrees, but at the same time you can't really fight a monster effectively, or why even have 2 cannons if you can't exactly wiggle or have safe spotting monsters
and what's like what if I wanted to what
I can tell you're ready to jump in to talk about Star Trek Online.
No, I wasn't actually going to say that. I was just going to say,
no,
what if...
I know that look on your face.
What
you're
if,
like, oh, Star Trek.
No,
talk about Star Trek.
Not at all. Not at all. I was getting excited because I was imagining a future combat sailing expansion with a bigger boat where I could put 4 cannons on one side.
It has lasers?
No. 4 cannons on one side. No. No.
Honestly, that could be like a fix, if you want to call it that, is, not have a limit of 1 cannon per side. Like with a sloop, be able to put 2 cannon slots on one side. Like that would fix a lot of it too. So it's just these little things.
Like, have you guys ever seen those wonderful movies from World War II where the boats fire and it just creates the biggest splash in the ocean when they hit?
No.
Okay.
No.
Look up some World War II ship combat videos.
Sure. I think another. I'm just gonna. I'm just gonna move on and talk about cannonballs. I think another thing that makes ship combat feel really bad right now is that cannonballs are costly, and you lose one every time you shoot. And I think combine that with the fact that you don't really have, like, you can't really pray against damage on ships. Healing your ship using fairly expensive repair kits feels kind of bad. I feel like all of the numbers, like the cannons don't really feel powerful. You need to compare the ship combat to almost how combat was in like classic or like very early RS2 days, right? Where really the only option was you click something and then you just stand there like boop, boop. And that's ship combat right now, right? Like that's the level we're at. And
a Dragon Cannonball is 3218 GP right now.
Yeah, I don't know of anybody other than like super sweaty people that are like trying to get drops or just, have, printing money that are using anything over like mithril cannonballs. And that's only because you can basically get them from a vendor. So
yeah,
it just doesn't feel good. And I don't mean to go back to
614.
Yeah, not to go back to salvaging, but even like the hook, I think between like bronze hook and a dragon hook, the difference is like an 11% like boost or something. And I think the cannons are as well. It's like you could have a bronze cannon and a dragon cannon, and it just doesn't feel like it scales properly. So there's really no. The cannonballs are probably the biggest, gap in terms of like damage, because you have like a steel cannonball is a max of like 15, a mithril is like 19, and you get up to dragon where I think it might be like 25 or something. But that's not every hit, that's max hit. And we all know in this game, that's basically you're rolling a dice for your damage numbers.
Can you deploy a dwarf multi-cannon on the largest boat?
I haven't tried, but I don't think so.
Certainly not.
I think that they allowed it at some point, and then it was very broken because nothing was balanced around it. And I think they sort of allow it again, but it does do the reduced damage that normal weapons do as well. So
okay.
if you use like any magic or ranged, you can actually try and kill things in the sea, but all of the damage from land-based weapons is reduced by like 2/3, I think, maybe even more. The thing is, they forgot to do this for the dwarven cannon. So people pretty early on figured out that the fastest way to do bounty tasks was to just put a cannon on their boat. I think they disabled it and then re-enabled it now with the nerf applied to that correctly.
Searching for cannon sailing OSRS, the best.
Yeah.
The first result on Google is the wiggle cannon.
It's the what?
The wiggle cannon.
I know, like day one,
What's that?
you basically have your boat and you're firing at something like right in front of you.
You
And
were
you're
talking about a minute ago.
Yeah.
Okay, got you.
Day one, people found out that you could get the bounty tasks, port tasks, and then go find like rays or sharks like right off the shore of, I think it was Isle of Souls, and they would just blow pipe and like do magic and kill them at the actual like damage rate, and they were getting sailing XP, and they're like, yeah, that's not how it's supposed to be.
And also sailing's not supposed to be a combat skill too, so that's where all this stuff gets a little bit persnickety.
Yeah. So.
All right. Next up comes my favorite part of the skill, and I think Sirion's favorite part of the skill, and I surprised him with this. The Barracuda trials, which are a fast, intensive, movement-based, lean-forward training method. The first one starts off with a temper tantrum just south of Pandemonium. Then we also have the Jubbly Jive.
Jubbly Jive. Say it 10 times fast.
No, and then Gwyneth Glide. And the goal behind these is that you have to complete a circuit, gather boxes. In the case of the first one, gather some rum as well. And the circuit becomes more and more complicated as you rank up the trial, but you also get more and more XP for it. And, this has been my main sailing training method, to the point that I've been so locked in on this on my screen that when I look away from my screen at something else, my eyes had gone wonky in my last session. That's how locked in I was on this.
Well, unhealthy.
I think the trials are a testament to how well they implemented the movement of the ships. Yeah. The fact that they managed to implement 3 Barracuda trials that are very different, and in terms of progression of difficulty also have like an interesting progression. The fact that the skill already has enough depth to make all of them feel very different, but unique and sort of, I mean, there are annoying parts to them that I dislike, like especially around things like hitboxes, for example. Like hitbox consistency is a problem with these, but other than that, they feel really good. And I was for Ghibli Jive for the second one. I was pushing for the Marlin time, and I was also at some point like pushing to like take like seconds off. And me getting the first Marlin time felt very similar to me getting my first Jat kill, is what I compared it to, right? Like that adrenaline boost of getting it for the first time. But the nice thing is I didn't have to do an hour of fight case to get there, right?
Yep.
Like to me, the fact that you could like, you mess up, it's like right click, quick reset, and you're back at the start and you're immediately back in, right? Like it felt so good to get in the flow. Like at some point it was like 10 p.m. in the evening. I was like, okay, I'm gonna do like half an hour of trials just to get this Marlin time, right? 2 hours later,
yeah,
they're addictive in a sense, right? Because
that's one way of putting it. Absolutely.
They knocked it out of the park. I think of the three, I like Ghibli Jive the best. I think Granite Glide, it gets a little bit too crazy with the portals and teleporting around. I understand the idea they went for, but you lose sort of the spatial awareness and the intuition. So it's much harder to just look at the map and figure out the routes, because you can't just draw lines on the map anymore, because all of these teleports, there's no rhyme and reason to it.
That's been my cheat code for all of them. Tile markers.
Yep.
Yeah. There are good tile marker backs. I have been experimenting, like especially in Ghibli Jive, I started experimenting with deviating from the tile markers. I'm like, oh, can I take this shortcut, or can I take this slightly different route, and like knock a few seconds off? For Granite Glide, the moment I start experimenting and I end up in like a different portal, I'm like, I'm lost. I don't know where I am anymore. And then I end up in like a different place again, and like that just doesn't feel fun. And I feel Granite Glide is really designed to, you should follow the path of charging the portals in the order that Jagex intended.
Yeah.
There is one route, and I don't think I could recite it on the show just because I haven't done it much, but there's one where you'll do the first two and then you'll kind of swerve, and instead of going into yellow, you'll go into black, and then your last one, you come out of black and you go around, and then you basically go back down to yellow, and then you come back into the pink one, and you end up doing like 520. It's actually pretty crazy. So.
And salvaging was faster than doing all of this stuff that you're...
Pre-nerf, yes, absolutely, which is wild. It was wild.
Yeah, maybe it should be nerfed.
Yeah.
I got your video up on screen of the Ghibli Jive right now, Sirion.
Oh god, these were some of my older attempts. Yeah. Yeah.
Just to give an idea of what that is for anybody watching on the YouTube variant, but I
like the concept of Ghibli Jive. I thought that was a cool. We do the just collect boxes. Like, okay, that's fun. Ghibli Jive, while it's probably my least favorite in terms of like stress and getting Marlin time, I thought it was a cool concept, because you not only had to like do the pathing, but you're like, okay, I have to hit these checkpoint boxes, and it starts in different spots each time. So it's like, do I do the orange now, or do I wait till I do the second pass? Do I preload this? It was pretty fun. So
I loved Ghibli Jive because it felt like there are multiple valid solutions to that one, and it had a real strategic component to it. And I don't care for the environment. It's very green and like it feels gross, right? It's just off the poison waste. And it was quite stressful. Well, the Marlin time on Granite Glide took me even longer, so I don't know. And I can't finish Granite Glide consistency within time. So
the one thing that I like for Trials, and I understand that they didn't do this, but could you imagine if this was a multiplayer aspect to it?
Oh, I don't think that will ever fly. But I would
so
love
much rage.
And then could you imagine if they added PvP?
Oh god, the amount of griefing, I cannot even imagine. People just camping out at Blue Portal, just taking people out.
I mean, like the way I see it is that's how you get OSR's Mario Kart.
What kart?
Mario Kart, the game that everybody loves.
I don't know what that is.
Anyways,
do you mean Mario Kart?
Yes.
But like if you look at the progression, like this was the worry I had, right? Like the temper tantrum we could actually try during the beta, and I was like, okay, but how are they going to make the other ones different, right? Like how are they gonna like take this formula and but they did, right? So in the first one, you pick up rum in one place, you drop it off in another place, and you do this a number of times, like depending on the tier, like difficulty. For the Ghibli Jive, you have to lure chompy birds in a certain sequence of outcrops, and you can preload the lure, like the toad balloons basically, but you have to create sort of this path to the end. But also one of the things that started becoming different between Temper Tantrum and Ghibli Jive is in Temper Tantrum. The only thing you really had to do is avoid the storms and aim for the rapids, right? The rapids make you go fast. But in Ghibli Jive, there's a new element where you get access to the wind catcher, which allows you to, when you trim your sails, you don't get a speed boost, but the speed boost is stored and you can release it at a moment of choice. And you have to use it strategically to go to like areas of bubbles that normally would slow down your ship significantly. So there's a manual element of releasing these wind modes right now. There's still rapids as well. And now if you go to Gwen of Glide, it goes a step further. Now there's no longer any rapids. The only thing you have is specific crystals that you can sail close to, and they will charge up the speed boost in your wind catcher, and you have to always manually trigger your speed boost. So it's yet another level of management of your speed and all of that. So you can sort of see the escalation of difficulty between the different things. Also in Gwen of Glide, you no longer collect something and drop it off, but you have to go to all of the portals at least once to charge up the crystals.
And that entire training
lower
XP than AFK.
Like, just explaining this is very overwhelming.
Yeah.
But you could just sit there and
The thing for me is that it was something I could benchmark. It was something I could repeat easily, and it's something that I could make micro adjustments to improve myself on. And I think that was more enticing to me maybe than the movement aspect behind it all. I might be a bit different on that, but
the first time like you get like a corner particularly tight, or you manage to figure out like the exact like turn you need to make to hit that outcrop or to hit that rapid without losing it, like the first time you manage to get that and then you get that consistently, like it feels like little micro victories along the way.
That's been the most satisfying part about exploring for me, so it sounds like I need to start doing these.
Yeah, it's really fun. And from somebody who hasn't really gotten to the point of PVM in old school, I'm about like base 70s. I have a few 80s, but right around 100 combat. I haven't done too much with bossing, but I imagine that's what it's going to take to do that. Because like with whether it be Jad, whether it be Moons, I've played Moons when it came out, but it's just those little things. It's like you just have to get into a groove. You just have to go through, you brute force it, you realize, hey, when this, puddle disappears, you can click on it 2 ticks before it appears and you won't take damage. And it's the same with, coming through the yellow portal. You can click before the tip of your boat even gets to it, and you will not get stuck on that rock, and you just shaved off 5 seconds. It's really a good feeling.
So what's my problem then with PVM, Sirion?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
It's all up here, Shane.
I think so.
All in your mind.
To me, the trials, like the fact that you have the wind to manage, the rapids to manage, you have things to click, right? Like all of that sort of has an equivalent in PVM, and it's a very different interpretation, but it feels like the same muscle. And the fact that they managed to get the progression, in my opinion, so right. They probably learned a lot of the things from PVM, but the fact that they managed to translate that, look, if they figure out combat, right? If they figure out the combat side of sailing and then manage to start building PVM encounters or even more complex trials, the future for this skill is very, very bright, because that concept excites me.
And it all comes back to movement.
Yes.
So do they have leaderboards for the trials yet?
Yes. Oh
they
my
do?
God.
Okay.
The race for Gwen of Glide, where they keep pushing the world record like tick by tick by tick, has been super interesting to watch.
And I think that's got to be it too, because this is the closest thing to my DPS chasing in Star Trek Online.
There it is. I was waiting for it.
But again, the leaderboards were absolutely brilliant addition by Jagex. The fact that we now have speed, like a genuine thing where you can do speed running within the game. Like I will never be that competitive, right? But for me, every time I manage to like shave off a little bit of time at Jubbly Jive, I'm like, yes, that feels great. And the fact that the community is now working together on, okay, what wind modes can we skip? What corners can we cut short? Can we change the route a little bit to shave it? Like, it's been really interesting to see them work with that.
Yeah, it was interesting with Jubbly Jive. I think one of my first attempts, I was kind of going off what people were saying, but also experimenting. And I had a route where I think right after like the red outcrop, I was full stop 180 and going the back way. And then I was like, wait a minute, I can just boost over these bubbles, and I just shaved off 20 seconds. It's like this eureka moment was so cool. So.
Yeah, I've been loving to see the community work together on this, on getting the fastest time, and I've said on the show before, I love watching speedrunning videos of certain games, and this gets very similar vibes.
Yeah,
I had no idea that I would ever like a movement mechanic this much. So,
up here, Shane. I'm telling you.
I know. That's what I tell people for everything. You know, it's all about the reframe, right? So. Okie dokie. And if you're going to want to do these trials the best, that comes to, well, what does your boat have on it? And we haven't really talked too much about the act of shipbuilding itself.
You want to do charting first?
Oh, right. Did I completely skip over that? I did completely skip over that. You're right. We'll do.
It's like the only thing I've done.
I was like, it's time to let Earth shine and talk about charting because he knows all about charting.
Okay, so without painting the picture being questionable historical figure explorers, as I did in the beginning of the show, how do we feel about charting?
I mean, I think it's really fun. It's just going around, seeing all of the stuff. I mean, from literally a different perspective than I've seen it before.
Right.
Because, I mean, you were sailing around all of these places, and it just makes you kind of realize how close everything is, and also how far, especially like Varlamar is from a lot of the main continent. But just they've done a really good job at adding in interesting things in just all of these areas. It's been really neat, sort of, ducking and weaving from all of these monsters that should probably one-hit me, to get like this rum or whatever that's in a crate, or to chart something, or
how do you feel about the ones
diving.
that knock you out and teleport you somewhere?
Well, if you saw me about 10 minutes ago have a look on my face, that happened to me when I was like right above Relica, which is really takes a minute to get to. So that's that's how I feel about that.
I found it got old very quickly, but
yeah,
there were also people saying, like, if you think back of how brutal RuneScape used to be in the olden days with like the evil chicken random event, this is like,
I mean, it's funny, but I just wish there were a port up there that I could, use instead of having to sail all the way from port. What is it?
Iscarilius?
Yep, that's the one.
Yeah.
Then the ones that poison you, I think, are kind of funny. Hadn't been killed by one yet, but
I think my favorite was the one that literally makes you black out for like a minute, and then just is like this
keeps having
soothing.
that text.
Yeah.
This moment is just for you.
Yeah.
A lot of people were getting that
one.
on release. They're like, oh, we're going to chart stuff. And they're like racing to get rank 1, like, on first day to log out and get rank 1. And they're like, oh my God, how long is this going to take? I want to play the game, Jagex. I was like, they knew what they were doing. They wanted to make a few people sit.
Oh, yeah.
We have 5 different kinds of chart. We have the basic scenery options that you just click on. We have spyglassing, where you go somewhere and use a spyglass to look at another thing or object. Crowbarring is where we have those crates that we were just talking about, where you pry open something and you drink it, though I don't necessarily know that drinking stuff you find on the open seas is good. The current duck, you put a duck down.
The mayor was a fish, Shane. The mayor was a fish.
What?
The mayor of Caverby is a fish.
Oh, right. That from the current affairs quest.
I mean, that's classic RS humor right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then there's diving, and then the portable weather station from the meteorologist.
That was another one that made me laugh. I was kind of underwhelmed by the diving thing because I thought I'd like have to do something,
Mm-hmm.
instead of just have to talk to this person and figure out their riddle, which I
Yeah.
mean, it's okay. But I thought there would be at least like some sort of mini game that went along with it or
Yeah, something
something.
like the Fossil Island, like underwater mechanic
Yeah,
or
like
something.
I
Yeah.
mean, nothing long, but
Mm-hmm.
like just you have to. I don't know.
So you
What
got go ahead.
what I found with charting, like I think like the fact that there's different ways of charting is good. But once you've done all of them, like a handful of times, I found that they get old fairly quickly. Like especially if you do them sort of in batch. Like, well, guess I'm chasing the current duck for a lot of 2 minutes, or oh,
That's
guess
what
I'm
Runelight's
going
for.
to figure out where the wind is, and then just spam click it because it's like it feels really janky where exactly you actually have to. It got old very quickly for me, so it feels a little bit too copy paste. But that being said, I do like the normal charting events. Like I love the environmental storytelling they managed to put
Mhm.
like everywhere. Like around, like one of the things you find around the iceberg north of Valletta is a periscope, for example.
Penguins.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like the ducks. I think they're annoying.
Do you have the Runelight
Um,
plugin turned on for that?
yes,
Because that
was
just tells you where to go.
so helpful.
Yeah, the
It was
moment
so
that
annoying trying to follow it around. And like I get it makes sense like conceptually, I guess, why you would want that because you kind of need to figure out what the currents are, right? Um, but it just felt annoying.
Yeah.
I dislike the tasks specifically that you can't reach with anything but a raft.
Yeah. Going up
There
a
have
couple
only been a
rivers.
couple of those, I think.
Yeah,
I think there was one
there's
actually.
two of them north of like one near Port Piscarius and one like at the Fremenic Isles, and yeah, they're a little bit of a
Maybe I
pain
haven't
to
gotten
get.
the one at the Fremenic Isles yet, but
Yeah, I think there's like 4 or 5 in total where you need to use a raft.
I just need to sit down and do a charting day because there is a substantial amount of XP for this when you
Oh yeah,
complete the sub-oceans and then the ocean for that. And then there's meta XP drops on top of that as well that you can get by going to talk to the guy at the Pandemonium. So
look, I was level 78, so I unlocked the Eternal Brazier, so I could chart the Northern Ocean. So I did the entire Northern Ocean in like one sitting, and I thought this was like, oh, it's gonna like maybe get me to like 79 if I'm lucky. No, it got me all the way to 80 and beyond. Like it's a significant chunk of XP if you add it all up.
well, I guess that's probably what I'm doing next then, because the wiki has a wonderful map as well that shows this, and if you have the plugin enabled, you can get this map on your world map too.
they just added that a couple days ago. Yeah, I was waiting on that.
It shows all the spots that you've hit and you've missed, and they also, I guess now that we're talking about the plugin, I found my favorite feature of the plugin. You can enable a beep beep so that when you put your boat in reverse, it sounds like you're the truck sound that trucks make when they reverse.
You're good. You're good.
I don't get that. What do you mean by that?
SpongeBob
reference.
Oh, okay. Never watched that show.
shows.
Yeah. Now the next thing is when you're turning, it has like the little indicator sound. Or like if it's like a truck, it's like beep beep beep. This truck is turning left. Beep beep beep. This truck is turning left.
I don't think we have those over here.
I don't know if you have them over there in the States. We have them in Europe, but that's
obnoxious.
so bloody annoying when it's sort
God.
of waiting at an intersection.
Anything else on charting?
Imagine living next to an intersection, though. That'd drive me nuts.
Anything else on charting?
Not really. I haven't done the weather one yet because I'm not high enough level, but
that's what I was waiting for to really sink my teeth into charting was
it's
to
worth
do
waiting
that.
for, I think, because you don't have to go around multiple times, and the XP is not going anywhere. So that's kind of why I waited until I had to.
And I
glad
do.
it doesn't count for the charting though.
Yeah. I do.
It does in the higher level oceans. So in the Shrouded Ocean and the Western Ocean, the Northern Ocean, it does count as well charting.
I do have to give credit to Mod Abe on charting, because that was his addition to the skill. And I remember him walking up to me at RuneFest asking what I thought about it. And I didn't know what to say at that point, because charting was my least favorite aspect of what we had experienced. And with the full world now and everything that we've been doing with it, it feels a lot more complete. So I feel happy with it now.
Yeah, the reason I pushed for full charting, all of the 70 Cs that you can chart right now, is you unlock drinks at the Chart Pirate on Pandemonium. And the drink you unlock for level 70, if you put that in a keg on your boat, increases all of your sailing XP by 2.5%.
Pretty good.
And they fixed it earlier this week so that it actually applies to Barracuda trials as well. So that's a nice chunk of extra XP. And look, like we were talking about it, like Gren of Glide is like 210k per hour. Add another 2.5% to that, we're talking like another 5k or something like that, right? It's not a lot, but it does add up.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right, now upgrades. You're gonna want the upgrades for the boat in particular, and what order do we want to go in for this one? Because I feel like if we look at this, I think that maybe the hull is the best thing to
well, maybe first
with.
Talk about the fact that the game, like Sailing on release, has 3 sizes of boats. You start with a raft, and the only thing, a raft is basically a hull, which is the raft itself, a sail, a helm, and a cargo chest. That's the only thing you can have on a raft, and you can't really expand it. Then when you're level 15, you unlock a skiff. So a skiff is like a small actual boat. It has a little bit more, like it has a keel as well, and it has, let me think, I think it has 4 facility slots, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
Yeah, one next to the helm. Yeah, I believe it's 4.
Then there's that one for the disease waters or whatever they're called.
And it has an inoculation.
But that's
station.
A special slot.
Yes.
Yeah.
So 4.
So it has 4. And then at level 50, you can also build a sloop, which is even bigger. That has like 8 or something like that, like 6 or 8.
11, and apparently the skiff has 7. Interesting.
Okay,
I think it's 10 plus the disease water one, and then 6 plus the disease water one.
Yeah, exactly. So you have like different sizes of ships. What is really interesting, I found, is that while the sloop is obviously way bigger and you would expect, more facilities, it must be better for everything, it is like 8 times more expensive to upgrade. Like it gets very, very expensive. And it is bigger. So actually for the trials, you want to keep using your skiff, because you can't really fit your sloop in there. And I think even for, I don't know what you use for your Courier task, but I think the skiff is even better for that because...
Yeah, I use skiff for trials and Courier, and then I use my sloop for salvaging and combat.
Does the sloop turn slower too?
I think they are the same speed, just as long as they're the same material type. But I don't think you can use sloops on trials like at all. I don't think it will allow you to. It won't let you if you're in that ship. And I may need to confirm that. But I've heard that you cannot start Gwyneth Glide, at least, with a sloop. It has
Gwyneth
to be
Glide, you can't fit your
Yeah.
ship to that maze.
Yeah.
I think you could theoretically do Ghibli Jive with it, but not recommended.
Yeah.
I think there's like one tier in which the sloop is like one speed factor faster for like one particular tier. Like there's a really weird exception, but I think it doesn't really make a big difference overall.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the hull parts on the wiki, and it if we look at the base speed for both the skiff and the sloop as you upgrade your hull, they are all the same base speed, but the speed cap is just 0.5 higher on each of them on the sloop.
Okay.
So it has the ability to go faster, but as we said, you're not going to be able to fit it into these trials. And is it just me, or does it feel like the skiff is more maneuverable? Like, is that just me feeling that, or is that actually the case? Like, in terms of like turning radius?
No, I think the turn radius would be the same from what I understand, because like the towel is like sort of fixed. So
okay,
but yeah, I do like that the skiff remains relevant all the way to 99 sailing. Like there's a different role for like a skiff and a sloop, because a sloop is very good, of course, for like combat, salvaging and trawling and everything that needs facilities. You want to use the sloop instead.
Yeah. Hey, they could even if they wanted to add like an offline kind of gameplay method, they could add something like Battleship. Okay. Helms. The idea behind this one is that this is what governs how well you can push through rapids and tangled kelp. I believe I'm definitely at the Mithril hull presently on both boats, because Adamant unlocks at 72 and then Rune is at 87.
Yeah, Rune doesn't really add anything right now because it adds resistance to tier 3 rapids, which don't exist in the game yet. So, and then Dragon Helm adds
Deadly
tier 4
rapid
rapids.
Reference.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm betting that would be like somewhere north of the wilderness then, in the oceans we don't have, probably.
Yeah, say around like Fossil Island and places like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So is there a second wave that's coming at some point?
So we will be seeing basically most of, I don't think it's like a second batch, but basically they are planning to release sailing content all throughout 2026.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Then we have the mast and the sails, and this one governs your speed boost duration and acceleration bonus, as well as storm resistance, and that's why you need at the very minimum oak sails to go through the temper tantrum for it. I found again that, with following the upgrades, one of the other things that helped me get through the Jubbly Jive was the upgrade to the Camp 4 mast and sail, because that improved the speed boost duration and actually gave it an acceleration bonus too.
Yeah.
So,
which is huge when you're going through the bubbles, because once you hit that, you're basically hitting a wall. So if you can't get back up to at least, over like 60% of where you were going, you're losing, 5 seconds, and that's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, the biggest upgrades, I think, in terms of like speed are, of course, oak and then teak, and then you can skip the mahogany tier and then go straight to camphor, and then again the ironwood tier you can skip, and then the rosewood is actually the only tier of hull that gives you a base speed increase. But right now it is incredibly expensive. Like even upgrading your skiff to rosewood, you required 300 dragon nails, and when I checked this morning, prices might have changed. They were like 150k each, I think.
For one nail.
For one nail,
it's
yeah,
insane.
you need 300. Yeah.
Oh god.
Yeah, there's people, even just this past week that have maxed out their skiff, and they're like, yeah, I spent $500 on this, and people are like, for what? An extra, 6 tiles an hour?
Look, if you're part of the speed running for like Run of Glide, absolutely.
Sure, yeah. But yeah, the prices are just insane right now.
And then we have the keel, which governs max HP armor, and then adds a crystal flecked resistance. I assume I'm going to need that to go around the Tyrannon area and whatnot and access code
Yeah,
for class.
I didn't build a queue for the longest time because I was like, I'm not going to do content. But whilst charting, my ship was absolutely being shredded all the time. And then the moment I built a queue, like most of the hits started becoming zeros. Like the armor is actually significant. So don't be like me and actually build a queue. I have an adamant queue now anyway because I have to for Granite Glide, but it made a big difference even building a Mithril one.
You know, I like the way that this has shaken out. Not only in terms of being able to customize each boat towards its own use, like you can have your own, like we said, you can have your own skiff that's designed for trials, or you can have your own sloop that's designed for salvaging or courier tasks, or maybe even use a skiff for that. But in addition to that, one of the things that I've been watching, and you know, it's not the gold rush it was on the first few days, but the hull parts and the repair kits do actually provide construction XP. So that is another construction training method that I will.
Yeah, on the first few days, because if you know how construction works, planks give a fixed amount of XP, right? So it doesn't really matter what you build; the amount of XP you get for the materials you put in is always the same. They were doing this with whole parts. The problem is you can sell whole parts again and actually run a profit. And like it's also way more AFK, of course. Well, not AFK, but like way less click intensive to do
than mahogany homes or remove
either mahogany homes or like mahogany tables in your house. So they nerfed it so that it is half XP per plank. But especially during the first 2 weeks, you would actually run a profit building mahogany whole parts, and a lot of people were basically getting free 99 construction.
Yeah, making money with it. Yep.
And you know, that's one of the things I think with scaling as a whole that I hope for, and I wish I would have been in a better position to capitalize on, was the having all the adjacent skills so that I could, you know, fully lean into that. But you know, not there, but you know, still had a good time with it overall. But you're probably wondering, what do you need all these upgrades for? And you know, one of the things I think,
well, facilities, right? Do we need to talk about facilities?
Yeah, we can talk about the facilities with that. Salvage.
Yeah, so like we said, like the different sizes have different number of facility slots. The facilities are really, so like ship upgrades are sort of come in two variations. You have like core part upgrades, so that's like your hull and your keel and your helm, and then you have like facility slots. So that's more like your hotspots, like you have in construction, and that's where you build things like cannons and salvaging hooks and trawling nets. But also things like a beer keg or a wind catcher or a crystal extractor, which help with movement. Or you have like
helps with movement.
Sorry?
A beer keg helps with movement.
Absolutely.
Not efficient movement, but it's movement.
Okay. Go on.
If you drink enough beer, then everything will start moving.
That's right.
Ah, yeah, I've done that. It's pretty true. You gotta say.
But also like a salvaging station, so you can sort salvage on your boat. So like it's interesting. I was really worried that different oceans would require like different facilities on your ship, and that you would need to build like a salvaging ship for the Northern Ocean and a salvaging ship for like. I think they managed to find a pretty good balance overall. In where we landed. Like right now, I have a ship that can sail everywhere. I don't know if that will remain this way. I could imagine that there might be some variations where you have to switch things out, but I think they struck a pretty good balance in that you can have like different ships for different purposes, but you don't need to build like 5
because you
different
get like
ships.
5 ship slots by the time you're 99, right?
Yeah.
So,
Cool.
there's room to add on for that, and obviously
I think they want
part of that.
I think they want to maybe add like even bigger ship sizes, because that was the original plan. They
I'd
just
be
couldn't
down
make
for
it
that.
work.
Yeah.
They couldn't just make it. They couldn't make it work and look good. So we'll see what they do with
And
that.
some that'll knock all the charter ships over.
I hope so.
yes, that would be awesome.
I was thinking about that size too, or give one where you can have like 8 cannons on each side of the ship. Though that might be a little bit overkill.
They shoot phasers.
No,
and...
we're keeping this. We're keeping this in world here. Keeping it in world here.
But yeah, that's it on facilities. Like we can talk about it, but like each activity has their own facilities basically, and then you have a few general.
You can even get
like
a range.
Yeah, for cooking things. I think the keg is the most interesting. So one of the rewards from the first trial is a keg stand, so you can build, or barrel stand, so you can build a keg, which you can fill with beer if you put like 25 of the same drink in there, and you unlock most of the beers from charting a number of seas. So the 2.5 boosts we talked about, if you that's one of them. That's called Horizon's Lure. So you buy like 25 of those drinks, you put them in the keg. And the nice thing is you can then use beer glasses to get it out. So most of them boost your sailing by a number of levels, which is really interesting if you want to build facilities early. But all of the drinks also have a passive effect, like increasing the salvaging chance, increasing the number of random encounters on the ocean, or indeed increasing.
And they did this without leaning into herb lore, which I think is very interesting. Because there's always two camps when it comes to skills, right? Do you keep it confined within the skill, or do you lean out into the game's other skills for it? And all these sailing
brewing is a cooking activity, so I don't know why this would have anything to do with herb.
Well, I mean, just in general, leaning out to other skills, right? That's kind of the track I was on for that. Does it lean out to other skills? One of the things that I is just the last thing on facilities is that you can have a greater teleport focus, which allows you to cast both summon boat and teleport to boat, which I think is very good. But at the same time, 75 sailing, 2 magic stones to amongst other things to build this.
There is actually a new meta for Astro Runes.
I saw that.
I'm listening.
You can park your boat at Lunar Isle to cut the run back.
Very interesting. But that being said, I know there was a lot of confusion at the start. The teleport to boat is you teleport to the port. A lot of people thought that they could just be out in the middle of the sea or whatever at a, camping a combat spot, and then they just teleport to Castle Wars, and then they could teleport right back to the boat. But the boat, if you teleport away from your boat in the sea, it becomes lost and you have to recover it. So it's not just going back to wherever it is in the world. It's basically a port teleport to wherever your boat is at. So say that 5 times fast.
And while we're at the point of teleports, one of the salvaging reward is a sailor's amulet, which teleports you to either Pandemonium, Port Roberts, or Deep Fin Point, which are like the 3 sailing hubs. The Deep Fin Point teleport is, I think, like almost as close, if not as close, to a bank chest as the crafting cape teleport. So that's actually a huge addition to the game for a lot of people who don't have 99 crafting.
Yeah, I got this at the level 53 salvaging spot, which is a 1 in 500.
Yeah, so. It's a really good amulet.
All right, where do we go next here, folks? The islands, I guess, right? Yeah, let's talk about some of the islands. I remember from my beta experience that I was absolutely shocked when I found an island that was full of black dragons and baby red dragons on it, amongst other things on that. And that's just the tip of the iceberg for what we have here in these islands. Of course, there's the other one, the big one that you get from completing the first Tortugan quest. The Great Conch is the name of the island. It's got a Calquit patch on it, amongst other things that you can do in the farming skill, which is
Star Trek and farming.
When it comes to the game, I always point out the farming patches early on for that. There's a hardwood patch south of the Corsair Cove, an island you can get to. You can build a rowboat there, making that hardwood patch easily accessible by way of the Feldip Hills Spirit Tree as well. those ones are interesting. I found Biles by the Isle of Souls on an island full of yew trees, which is just weird, but okay. What else do you guys have for islands?
Well, there's. Did we go over the Red Chin spot?
That one is meta now, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I haven't done too much exploring. I know there's like a pirates type island where you get some of your schematics, and we can go quickly backtrack to some of the upgrades and facilities with the schematics. Some of them you have to go and find, the plans for this. You can't just right out of the gate do that. So a lot of the islands will have, hidden little chests or whatever to get the plans, and whether or not you get a key from something to go unlock this chest kind of gives it a pirate vibe. But no, I haven't done too much exploring. I haven't done much charting. I don't think I've really completed any oceans. I've kind of just been going crazy with the temper trials and stuff. But I think the Great Conch is a great addition with the island. You have all the ferry ring there, and kind of gives you a teleport outside of your boat to get down to that side of the map with all the other. I think it's a large shipwrecks down there and stuff. So
yeah, it's even got a charter service there.
Oh my god, I've never used as much chartering in like old school RuneScape as in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess we should also point out with this is that these islands where you get a lot of the resources that come from sailing. The native resources in particular from sailing. Themselves in terms of all the new wood types and ore types that have been added. And, we weren't necessarily aware of where these were going to be on the map when sailing arrived. And I think that having that level of exploration in there where it took a few days to really get everything on the wiki and figure out where everything was, I think it just creates for a really interesting, wholesome skill experience that I don't necessarily know if there's been a skill that's been added that has been as widespread as this. How do we feel on that angle in terms of the exploration of the islands and what they have produced for this?
Like I said, it's my favorite part.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite island yet that you found?
I do not.
Like I said, I'm biased towards the farming ones.
Yeah, I haven't really gone exploring on the islands themselves yet, but they did a pretty decent job, I think, at filling up the sea with different things, and like places like Deep Fin Point, are pretty amazing. I don't know if it's Deep Fin Point. I think it's like a different place where you now have a stall. Where you can steal cannonballs. I think this apparently is pretty competitive.
Isn't that Point Roberts?
Yeah, might be. Apparently, it's pretty competitive thieving XP as well. So I like
because the stalls don't deplete there.
Exactly. So I really like that. A lot of people like, why would I train sailing? Was a pretty common criticism in the past few weeks. But I think, and I think the same sort of applies to like Varlamore, for example. I think a lot of people on release didn't realize the value of Varlamore, and then the first leaks came out, right? And then people started playing the mid game in Varlamore and realizing how much it added in terms of depth. And I think the islands will do something similar. I think what we will see over the next year or maybe even 2 years, because this is going to take time, people will find out how some of these islands will fit into the strategies. I was talking about the teleport to Deep Fin Point, right? Like that's massive probably in terms of like training methods. And I think a lot of people will start using that. And that's it's the small little things that will slowly start creeping into people's normal day-to-day habits that will make sailing feel part of the game.
Yeah. Apparently the ore stall at 82 thieving is 204,000 thieving XP an hour at Point Roberts.
Wow.
Pretty good.
And
I think it is competitive. I think it is competitive to the fastest training methods around there. I am 78 thieving. I should maybe start working on that.
Yeah, go pay it a visit. Another thing that has come up with that in terms of wood and whatnot is, there was always the question, were these kind of things intended to come into game and be so disruptive, like the Chinchompa Island, like all the different wood cutting spots, and were these things pulled? But it was part of that island's pull, wasn't it, Sirion?
I feel that, I mean, did they pull specifically? Are we going to add like a better Chinchompa place? No. But I mean, we want to have intelligent discussions between JMods and the community, right? And I feel you should, as a community member, as a player, expect that if they're going to add islands, then the islands need to be worth it. And it was pretty clear that they were going to fill it with existing content.
Because what are you going to do? You're just going to go pull your boat up and look at it, take a screenshot, and move on?
Exactly. And I think they made it very clear that the islands will be filled with both existing and new content. And so it is, to me, expected that maybe the meta for some hunter creatures or some slayer monsters is now out on the sailing islands, because otherwise why would we have sailing to begin with?
Yeah, and I mean, I'll happily work some of these islands into my farming runs.
Exactly. It's also not like all hunter creatures now have a new best in like new meta place, right? Or all slayer creatures have a new meta. No, like it's only few of them.
Yeah.
And it's not disruptive, because there is that caveat that you need to figure out how you're going to get out there. And yeah, there are islands with half a dozen yew trees on them, but there's no way to get those yew logs off that island.
Right.
Unless it's one of the islands where you can build a bank chest. But yes.
Correct.
But like, hey, enjoy the next few weeks where the bots haven't figured out sailing yet, and you have like a
yeah. I thought of that. But anything else on islands before we move on?
I think Grimstone is the other interesting one, right? Like at level 87, where you can make cannonballs much quicker, but I think most people are pretty meh on it. What is interesting is on Grimstone is
Frost Dragons?
A blast from the past when you're an RS3 player, which is Frost Dragons. Yeah.
Also the what is it? The Lava Strike Worms were added as well.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and Aquanites.
Oh yeah, hard to believe that Aquanites had not been added yet.
Yeah.
So
we also got a new Slayer creature, Griffins, on the Great Conch with its own Slayer boss version.
Yeah.
And those are the feathers you were looking at earlier, right?
No, albatross feathers.
Oh, okay. Not griffin feathers, albatross feathers. Fair enough. All right. After that, trawling. And I feel like trawling and salvaging are kind of the same thing, but I haven't done any trawling yet. Sirion, Dave, have you?
I have not.
I have
don't
not, but it is different because you don't just sit still in one place. You actually have to follow them around as well. So it is a little bit different. It's not great XP from what I hear.
Yeah, I would say that it's definitely not a way to train. And I know people are in train mode here, probably at least for the next 2 weeks until everybody kind of gets to where they want to be. So people really haven't touched it. I do know that there are some pretty good fish, some pretty competitive fish with what we have in the game now. So I foresee a lot of, metas coming out here in the next, maybe even after the holidays or during the holidays when people are just trying to, just not be so gung-ho with XP and just trying to figure that out. But I'm excited to try it, but I have not done much with it.
Yeah, because there's a whole suite of different fish that we can catch from this that are going to have their own unique benefits. Yeah. And you remember back when they were talking about this, I think it was you or me that said this was one of the things we were most looking forward to.
Oh, I wasn't, so it's probably you.
Okay, yeah, that's right. That makes sense, because I always felt that cooking was a fairly one-dimensional skill, and that you just have, a few fish that are interesting to you, and then the rest is just, relative filler throughout. Yeah. So if you can add, different fish along the way that, hey, look, come from sailing, that's probably a good thing to have for this. And, we're sitting here at the beginning of December now, And we ask ourselves, like you said, Dave, after the holidays, people land on this. What if we find, that, somewhere north of like 70, 78 or 84 sailing or something to that effect, one of the best, combo sailing fishing methods of money making could be there at the end of the day when we're,
I think that's really going to be it. I think it's a good point. It's not a great fishing training method. It's not a great sailing training method either. But I do think it might end up being a pretty solid moneymaker because it is the best in slot food. Like it's the biggest single bite hill food. Also combo food is a pretty big thing in old school. So for those who don't know, I don't know if it even exists anymore in RS3. This might have changed completely.
Oh yeah, we have combo eats.
But like Karambran, of course, doesn't have like an attack delay after like a normal. So and then there's like you can have a brew as well. Like I think it's like brew, fish, Karambran. I don't know the exact order. But they are adding halibut, which is basically a Karambran, like has the same mechanics as Karambran, but heals more. So with like the new best in slot heal and a new best in slot combo food, and they're also adding a new type of brew. You can in a single tick heal so many hit points. I think like upwards of like 50 hit points in a single tick, which is insane.
Which leads me to believe, if and when, well, it's not if, but when, Raids 4 comes out, they will probably be designing around that. So, I mean, this will be an in-demand food. So, I mean, anybody listening, and, I plan to here in the next few weeks, stock up because it's very quickly going to say.
So I should play the long game then on this.
Say this is being released, and then, all the Iron Men are going to be like, oh, crap. Granted, they can't really buy the food anyway, but people that want to be rushing these world first are going to be buying these fish. It's just going to skyrocket. So that's kind of on my radar after I get a few more of these big drops from Kraken and sharks to stock up on some of this food. So
shouldn't it be on sonar?
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of good stuff kind of with trawling. So looking forward.
And I think what they want to do throughout 2026. So another thing they wanted to add on launch initially, but they had to cut, was dredging, which is like a combination training method of sailing and mining. And I think we'll probably see more of these combo methods being added throughout 2026 to really integrate sailing into the rest of the game.
And that's the whole grand vision with this thing, is that you end up, I think, with redefining what a support skill is in the game. Now, when you look at this, you wonder, were people excited about this when sailing was first talked about? I certainly wasn't. My biggest concern was that it was going to still come out looking like a meme. And, thankfully that ship has long since set sailed. Not intended.
Boo.
Not intended. Not intended.
Need to intend your puns, coward.
But when it comes down to it, I think that re-examining support skills at the end of 2025 was not in my bingo deck. And as a result of that, looking at this as what this means for support skills going forward and how it can, like you said, just hook in with fishing and then mining and then everything else in between. I think that complete package there, granted, sailing might have been able to have been done on land, but there isn't that much room for expansion in various areas unless you add new land masses. Whereas if you do that on the sea, there is a good option for all these other islands that we had, and it just creates what I feel at this point, and especially now after we've been here for almost 2 hours talking about it, a very whole picture of what a support skill can be. And, I didn't intend to be in this boat now, but
Shane,
I swear I'm not planning.
You stink!
I swear I'm not planning these. I am legitimately considering that sailing could be my first 99 because I don't have any other 99s in game.
You haven't gotten 99 farming yet?
No, I actually started the farming up again this past week, but after realizing how much I like this skill and everything around it, I realized that I could be one of the rare few people in game to probably have an untrimmed sailing cape with this, just because of, you know, how I feel about it as a support skill. So,
this comes back to the discussion at the start, right? Where did people vote for sailing because it is just a land expansion, or did they vote for sailing because like the actual concept of the skill? And when you start thinking about sailing as a support skill, I think the question that naturally forms is, does it even matter? And the way I started to see sailing being reframed as, you know, the higher your sailing level, the more efficient you are going to be able to be in many of the other skills. That's what sailing really gets you, right? It gets you better places to do Vetchin Chompas. It gets you better places to get you more farming patches. It gets you more skilling spots in general. It unlocks new training methods
thieving.
like the thieving.
Yeah,
exactly. And maybe that is what a support skill should be. And as much as I dislike Slayer, Slayer actually does the same for combat skills specifically. Higher Slayer levels unlock new monsters that you can kill. Not necessarily they're going to be more efficient in helping you kill, like get more combat experience, but they are going to be required to get certain combat items, especially in Iron Man mode, or they are going to give you access to particular task only kill spots, which is particularly relevant for Frost Dragons right now, right? So Slayer already, I think Slayer as a skill in terms of how it's executed, it's poorly executed. It's incredibly dull and one-dimensional. But it does act as a support skill. And that made me think, why isn't agility a support skill? Why doesn't agility allow me to navigate through a complex jungle and get out on the other side, and that there's like a skilling area that is akin to an island, right? In a sense, agility does allow you to take shortcuts and to improve your skilling, but it feels very minimalistic. And I kind of
like the Shiloh Village nature shortcut.
Exactly, or the shortcuts when doing blood or soul rune crafting in Zaya. Like that's the kind of stuff where agility does come in, but it is not as profound as sailing.
It's
has
2002
been.
support skill.
Exactly, and I kind of find myself wishing no longer that can we please forget about sailing and do shamanism, but more, okay, now that we have done sailing, can we go back and bring agility and Slayer and what are the other supports? Fire making is a support skill, right?
Is it?
I believe.
I think fire making is classed as artisan.
Now I want to know.
That's a very interesting question.
Support skills. Oh, it's called utility skills.
Utility.
It's utility skills.
RS3 is called support skills.
Yeah.
It is fire making is a utility skill, and so is construction, which makes a lot of sense, right?
Yeah.
Construction unlocks. So thieving, fire making, agility, Slayer, those like make them even more lead into that utility aspect. And I think we got a very, very bright future ahead of us. So I'm okay with where sailing ends up. And like I said, I felt sailing was going to be this weird skill that felt different than all of them. And that it was going to be bad for that reason. I did not realize at the start of the journey that it would be the other way around. I would come to accept sailing of where it is and find all of the other utility skills bad.
Yeah, and like you said in jest, that I'm still salty about the poll that led to sailing coming in when we were putting this episode together, but that's not the case anymore. I'm 100% happy with sailing for there. So, what about you, Dave and Earth? How do you guys feel now that you've got your hands on it for a bit and whatnot?
I enjoyed it. Like I said, I was cautiously optimistic with it all. I wanted it to be good, but I knew that, there's a high possibility it could have released as a meme and super clunky. I think it did release clunky, but I think it was charming and it preserved kind of the old school feel. And I think if it was, again, like we were speaking before, if it felt too smooth and modern, it would be rejected no matter how good the content was. It would not feel right. So I really like it. Super happy with it. Like I said, I'm not rushing to 99. I just don't want it to be my first 99. But I also don't want to
Oh, you haven't got
be
99 RC yet?
no, not yet. That's on the docket. But that's I want a reason to be excited other than the fact of it's a new update to try all the stuff in 2026. I don't want to be 99 to where it's like, I'll get to it, unless there's like a money incentive or something like that. I want to be able to hop in. I'll probably be low 90s because the next Barracuda trial will probably be right around there, I would think, maybe 85, 92-ish. So I'll aim for that, but I don't want to get too crazy with it. But overall, I absolutely love it. I've been having a
Yeah.
blast with it.
All right. Earth?
Yeah, and like I said, I've been enjoying sailing around. I came in with no expectations, knowing very little about it other than it exists. And I've been pretty pleased with it, and I'm sort of look forward
Yeah, I
to
think I just poked you and I said,
doing
go
more of
try
the-
sailing.
Yeah, you did. I was like, oh, is it coming out? Okay, neat. And then I did, and I've really enjoyed it. So, I'll have to try the trials out and some of the other stuff too.
Very nice. Very nice. So I guess we just recap then with some main training methods that we highlighted for that. The trials or the lean forward, fast method, estimated at about 230k per hour, you guys say?
Yeah, it was about 210 before the buff that we got a couple days ago. So right around now, I think if you're pretty efficient and you're not resetting a lot, I think you're right around that 200 to
I feel
250K.
attacked right now.
Why? Why?
I reset a lot because I get very upset about like messing up, and I know it is the dumbest thing to do in a sense, right? Like for the XP per hour, you just need to finish them because the big XP should come to the back. But I'm like, I need to get the better time. Also,
it's all good.
you only get pets and paint rolls at the end of the Barracuda trial if you finish within time. The paints actually, so you get like paints to paint your ship. Like they're like, we have dyes now in old school. But they actually sold, like I got one. I got very lucky on the Gwen of Light, and it sold for like 3.5 mil. So
Yeah.
Nice. The ABA Courier Tasks come out to about 160 KXP an hour, and Salvaging at 120-ish, give or take. And, there's just so many other little things that we could, lean into. I don't even think we mentioned the crystal extractor and whatnot. That
will change. That might change anyway.
Yeah.
So.
Mm-hmm. And, we were going to talk about the XP changes at the end, but we already did that. But for people who are just tuning into sailing for the first time, since this is the RS3 show, you know how things go. You guys remember how things were when, Hero Pass was a thing, and you remember how things were when, communication was bad at Jagex and the community was upset. We had one of those moments for a few days this week when it came to the XP review update that happened, and we've managed to work most of that into the show here. But I think, and hopefully we don't get flamed for saying this, I feel like we're in a good place now.
Sorry, my reaction there is they shaved off another 3 seconds of the world record at Gwen of Light.
Coming down to the wire.
It is 4:53 right now.
Wow.
That is very fast.
Amazing.
That's a significant jump as well, because it has always been like one tick. Now it's like 3 whole seconds. That's significant.
What tech did they discover?
I will watch the video after the show because I'm very curious.
Yeah, so either way, they definitely don't run the crystals in order. Like I said, they do the first two, they skip like three, do one, come back, do two of the first one. It's like, oh my gosh, it was pretty cool. I was trying to like take notes with the video I saw, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm
Well,
gonna
we're
have to.
exhibiting the classic RSBANB update thing where we tangent at the end here. So I'll say, is
Yeah.
there anything else on sailing in terms of its conclusions or anything to that effect anybody would like to say before we move on?
No, I don't think so.
I mean, I think the overall progression. I love that we get a skill with a flatter curve essentially, and I really enjoy that. I think the other skills are too far gone. We all know that you start a new account by doing Waterfall Crest and just going to like the first 40 levels of your melee skills like that,
Yeah.
which kind of defeats that progression. I think they solved that really well with sailing. On top of that, I think one thing needs to be said, which is the fact that as much as we can complain about XP or training methods, all of that, I think the fact that we got moving vehicles in an engine like old school and it feels as smooth as it is. You can put a cannon on there, you can drop items on there, you can walk around while the ship is moving.
Yeah.
All of that is.
Yeah.
And the fact that this was released and we did not need a rollback. Right? This release was
smoothest
so smooth.
release between both games I've ever, just in releases in general, regardless of developer or game, it was the absolute smoothest release.
Yeah,
like,
we
no
looked at
downtime before it released or
Guys,
went live.
it was
crazy.
smooth sailing.
It was smooth sailing.
Come on.
Oh,
We looked at the patch notes on the
There's
first
your
week, and it was
title,
like,
too.
and it was like, is this it?
Like the actual like drop of it and the release of it was so underwhelming because everybody was just logged in at Port Sarim and everybody's just like spam clicking the quest giver and it's like come back later, come back later, come back later. Accept quest. We're like, oh. So it was very, very smooth. Very impressed. So good on them.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well then, we do have a few achievements this week. Starting off, we have Juan Peru with 120 Hunter on December 5th, Iron VSS with 99 Hunter on the 4th, Skips with 120 Thieving on the 4th as well, Them Gains with 200 million Divination on the 4th, and Xenon Ray with 120 Thieving also on the 4th.
On December 3rd, we had Terry Dax with 120 Thieving, Rhino with 120 Agility, XOX Scotty XOX 200 mil Hunter XP. On the 1st, we had Chimney LAX with 99 Invention, Iron VSS with 120 Thieving, Queen Adina with 99 Necromancy. Yep.
Yeah, I'll take us back to November, where we're going to see some more thieving 200 mil XP. I wonder why that is. Can somebody?
Yeah, say all these thieving achievements.
Bladecom got 200 mil thieving XP, as well as Malinoric got 200 thieving XP, both on November 30th. Robosaurus Rex got 120 divination on November 30th. And then XOX Scotty XOX had a little bit of a party, it seems like, getting 200 mil summoning XP, 200 mil fishing XP, and 200 mil construction XP all on the same day at November 30th. And then back on November 28th, oh my God, that feels like so long ago at this point. John Peru got 120 divination.
And then for other achievements, Snail Mage got an Iced Eye on November 5th. Lemon got a Miss Alonar's Death Mask. Am I saying that right?
I don't know.
On that thing.
I would say Miss Alionar.
Yeah, but you're Dutch, so that's probably wrong.
Wow. Wow. As somebody who learned English the British way, I could also say
the wrong way. We fought a war to get rid of all those extra U's, gave them the L, You know, don't need that.
Fair enough.
And then Blade.com got a Ring of Fighter drop, but what is that? Jalyot Kiet? Is that how you'd say that? And then 2 Varanus's Mercy, and then a Note on Spike Harness, all on November 28th.
Yeah.
Is that right, Shane?
Yeah, I believe so.
That's a lot. Good day.
When is it my turn with the luck?
Whenever you go run heists.
I guess. Good Lord.
All right, excellent. Good job, everybody. We're moving on to pick of the week now. Sirion, what do you got for us?
Yeah, I think I brought the original on the pick of the week for this on the show a long time ago. And this might even have been in my RSV co-host era, right? I think you looked it up earlier, but you didn't tell me when it
was the Centist and Lore Diggers episode.
The Lore Diggers
2021.
episode. Okay. All right. So I brought as pick of the week a series of books by Isaac Asimov, which is the Foundation series, which I can continue to recommend. So I'm going to sneakily and cheekily get that in there. I do want to also recommend the adaptation on Apple TV Plus that's also called Foundation. Now, this is going to be a controversial one, because is this a faithful adaptation of the Foundation series? No, it's not. Foundation, there have been numerous attempts to adopt it into a TV series or a movie, but it never really panned out. Like, this was the unfilmable book, right? Like, it was, you could not adapt this book. Apple TV Plus did try and did do so, and I think they have been reasonably successful. Though they've taken quite a lot of liberty with the storyline. And the problem with the Foundation series is that it spans centuries. Right? And the first book, like the first Foundation book, is actually 4 parts that are each like 50 to 100 years apart. Of course, when you have like TV series, you want some continuity in actors, in characters and all of that, because otherwise it gets a little bit too confusing. And modern people watching TV need their drama of existing characters to be continuous
and short attention spans.
They solved that in some cases in a not so elegant way with things like cryosleep and all of that. But one of the biggest changes they made is they added a whole new storyline around a so-called genetic dynasty, where the empire of the galactic empire that spans the universe is actually the same person cloned over and over and over again. So it's sort of a certain continuity, which allows them, of course, to use the same actor. So there's always 3 emperors alive, one that's in their youth, one that's in their prime, and one that's sort of older, and that acts sort of as an advisor. So they have like 3 different actors playing these different ages. As you move to the series, you meet different versions, right, of the characters, like different generations, essentially. And it is amazing how the same actor can portray different personalities, and really over time you learn a lot about nature versus nurture, for example. But there's also sort of interesting intrigue about why the series why the genetic dynasty came to be. I haven't watched the 3rd season yet. The 2nd season, especially the genetic dynasty storyline, is absolutely peak. It's, from what I've read, also the best season of the 3. It's an interesting watch. Don't expect it to be a faithful adaptation, like I said, but it stands on its own as pretty solid sci-fi TV.
And if anybody wants to watch it, then they find it very interesting. Hopefully that'll bring them into the book then as well.
If you find exactly. The genetic dynasty is unfortunately not something from the book. It is actually an addition from the show writers, and is actually the best executed part of the show, which is kind of ironic. The adaptation part is a little bit less interesting, but the books are good in their own term. And there's a lot of big actor names in there in here as well, like some big big hitting names, and they definitely deliver. Also some unknown names who do really well.
Excellent. Well, we'll throw a link to that in the show notes over at update.show. But overall, that pretty much brings us to the conclusion of this episode covering Old School's first new skill, which is a phrase I never thought I would say, either of them. Old School's new skill, or us covering something like that, but lo and behold, here we are. Next week up is the introductory boss on RS3. We'll be here for that, so if you want that, best thing to do is to subscribe to the podcast. We're on all your favorite podcast listening services out there, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pocket Casts, Amazon, and more. Of course, YouTube as well at youtube.com/RSBANB. Give us a like and subscribe there. Greatly helps the channel out. But thank you all for being here. Sirion, always good having you on the show.
It was good to be back.
Dave, always good having you on. And, people are just shocked when they hear the show and they go back in time, just how long we've had your music as a fixture here, amongst other things.
No, always happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
And, of course, Earth, somebody who has been a thorn in my side for many years and keeps me honest when he's on the show.
Well, somebody's got to do it, right?
Yeah, so thanks for being here, and I'm glad that you enjoyed your experience with sailing.
Yeah.
But with that being said, we'll see you guys next week for another episode of RSBANB Update. See you then, everyone. Take care.
Bye, y'all.
See ya.